If you're popping over after watching the video on how to install the Boxwood presets, I hope that you guys are having fun and enjoying them. And in this video, I wanted to give you some of my editing tips for editing your photos on Lightroom Mobile. Although the Boxwood presets are a great foundation for your photos, every photo is taken in different light. You're probably going to need to do a few edits after you've applied the preset with every photo that you edit. I asked a few friends and some readers to send in photos so that I could show you that you don't have to be a professional photographer to have really stunning results. Within each of these photos, I'm going to show you some of the tools that Lightroom Mobile offers to make your photos really stand out. To start off, after you've applied the preset, you're probably going to need to adjust the exposure and the temperature a little bit. The exposure just determines how bright or how dark a photo is. All of the Boxwood presets increase the exposure a little bit, but if your photo was already taken in a really bright setting and your photo is already properly exposed, you may find that the presets overexpose the photo a little too much, so you'll want to decrease the exposure. Or if you found that the preset didn't quite brighten your photo enough, you can then go into the Light tab at the bottom menu bar and you'll see exposure there, and you can increase the exposure to brighten the photo. Next to the Light tab, you'll see the Color tab, and the Color tab will help you adjust the tones in the photo. And the Color tab is a great feature to get that cohesive look. It helps you adjust the colors in the photo. So this is going to help you either warm up or cool down the photo or bring up some of the pink or green undertones in the photo. I have set the presets to just keep the photo as shot. It doesn't warm up the photo or cool down the photo in any way. So you may find that if your photo is looking really warm after you've applied the preset, you can slide the temperature down towards the blue a little bit to cool off the photo, or vice versa. If your photo doesn't quite feel warm enough and it feels a little too cool, you can increase the temperature towards the yellow to warm it up. You look down and you see the tint there. The tint will help you adjust the pink and the green undertones, and this is really helpful if you are shooting with a lot of white. Sometimes whites can pull a little bit funny, and if you want that really cohesive look, you'll want to start paying attention to how the whites look in all of your photos. So the tint tool will just help you either bring in some pinks or bring them down a little bit or make the photo have a little bit more of a green undertone. This is mostly just a preference thing so that you can get the look that you want. You'll also see the color dropper tool. Now, I primarily use the color dropper tool on desktop, but you can also use it on mobile. You'll click the color dropper tool, and then you'll find a part on the photo that is a true neutral. So you really do want gray, but oftentimes you don't have a true gray in the photo, so a white will work too. And you'll select that neutral part of the photo, and then Lightroom will automatically calibrate the temperature to fit that neutral. This works on mobile sometimes. I haven't had the best success with it. Usually I'll just do this by hand using the temperature and the tint tool. If you watched my video giving my tips and tricks for taking better photos, I talked about the grid and shooting straight on. I mentioned that if you have a couple lines that are a little wonky in your photos, you forgot to shoot straight on, or maybe you couldn't shoot straight on, there are ways to fix that in editing. I'm going to show you in this photo. This is a photo my friend had sent me of her porch. So we'll first pick the preset. Okay, we're going to go with the Truffles preset here. So we've got the preset. It looks really beautiful, but as you can see, the lines are a little bit off in this photo. You can see that the door looks like it's tilting towards us. So we're going to click the Geometry tab in the bottom menu in Lightroom Mobile, and then you can either fix some distortion. This is if your lens made the photo look a little bit fish-eyed, or you can select vertical or horizontal. We're going to select vertical for this because the door, it looks like it's tilting towards us. So I'm going to scroll on the vertical either up or down just to fix those lines. You can see that instantly the lines look straight, but now you can see that there is this white background left where we fixed the photo. So I'm going to crop that out. So I've selected the crop tool, and now I'm just cropping out that white area that was left after I fixed the lines. And I'm going to get the door as straight as I possibly can to make this photo a little bit more appealing. So I would say that looks pretty darn good. It looks much better than it did. The next thing that's standing out to me is the doorbell. You can use the healing brush to get rid of anything you don't want in your photo. This is awesome. So we're going to get rid of the doorbell just so that I can show you how to do this. And you can do this in your photos too if there's something that you don't want in the photo. So I'm going to select the healing brush tool. It's a little band-aid tool at the bottom. then I'm going to touch the doorbell. I'm going to touch whatever I don't want in the photo, you'll touch on that. And it's going to drop a little circle there onto the doorbell, and you'll see that a second circle pops up. You can see where I've touched the doorbell, the circle is way too big. It covers way more than the doorbell. You can increase or decrease the circle size by simply pressing your finger on the solid circle on the left-hand side and dragging up or down. You're holding your finger on your screen and you're dragging it up to increase the circle or dragging it down to decrease the circle size. So I'm going to drag that circle size down so that it just fits over the doorbell. Then you'll see the second circle is where Lightroom is going to pull from to replace the first circle. So whatever's under that first circle, it's going to be replaced by whatever's under the second circle. So you can move the second circle around anywhere in the photo so that you get a good match to cover up whatever you're trying to cover up in the photo. You can see I'm just trying to find the perfect spot on the wall there to mimic the wall so that the doorbell just disappears. And once you're happy with the replacement, you just hit the check mark and voila, it's gone. It's so great. I love this tool, and I think you guys will really love this tool too. The next thing that stands out to me on this photo is on the wall, you'll see the bottom part is very light and bright, and then as you go up to the top, the wall has a little bit of shade and it's not the exact same color as the bottom part of the wall. I would edit this out if this were one of my photos that I was posting in my feed. And this is done with the Selective Edits tool. The Selective Edits tool is one of Lightroom's most amazing features. It's something I use on pretty much every single one of my photos. So I wanted to share it with you guys, and I hope that you guys will start to use it so that you get comfortable using it in your photos. Anytime you have variation in a photo, the Selective Edits tool is going to allow you to select just a part of the photo to edit. So if there's a part of your photo that looks warmer than the rest, you can select just that area of the photo to cool it down to make it look like the rest of the photo. Here we're going to bring up the exposure on the wall a little bit. So I've selected the Selective Edits tool, and then you'll see up in the top left corner there's a little plus sign. I'm going to click the plus sign to create a new selective edit. Then I'm going to select the little paintbrush. Now I'm going to use my finger to draw onto the photo where I want the selective edit to go. So I'll draw on the top part of the wall, and then you can go down and adjust whatever you want to adjust there. You can bring up the color, alter the color, change the color. Here we are going to increase the exposure, so I'm going to click on light and drag the exposure up so that the top part of the wall looks just like the bottom part of the wall. Then I'll click the check mark button to save the selective edit. Alrighty, I will say that this photo looks so much prettier, so much lighter and brighter and straighter with our quick edits that we made in mobile. So now let's move on to the next photo. I wanted to show you how I edited the next photo. It's a really good example of having to make a few edits after I've applied the preset. So if you are trying to edit a photo and you've applied the preset and you don't think that it looks very good, you don't think that the preset's working, I encourage you to do a couple more edits to really bring the photo to life. Sometimes it just takes a little finessing if the photo has two different tones like this. You can see in this photo, we've got a really, really bright background and then we've got shade. And anytime you have that, it can be a little bit tricky, but luckily you can use the Selective Edits tool to bring up the exposure in the foreground there so that the background doesn't become totally overexposed, and then in the foreground where I am and where this horse is, it's then properly exposed and the photo is going to be really beautiful when we're done with it. So let's first pick out our preset. We're going to go with the alfalfa. You know I love the alfalfa. And the alfalfa does bring up quite a bit of shadows and the black tones. And so if you feel that the shadows or the black tones are a little bit too intense for you after you've applied the alfalfa preset, you can go into the light tab and adjust them there. All right, so let's bring up the exposure a little bit here. You can already see that the photo's looking so much better. So like I said, the presets do increase the exposure a little bit, but sometimes you need to increase them a little bit more. Now, I still feel like I'm a little bit in the shadow, so I'm going to use the Selective Edits tool. I'll press the plus sign in the brush tool, and then I'll start drawing on the photo where I want to increase the exposure. So I'm going to draw my face and really anywhere in the shade here that needs to be a little bit more exposed, a little bit brighter. Now I will select the light tab in the bottom, and I will drag up the exposure, and now you can see everything is really light and bright, and this is such a pretty photo. So you can see that even after you've applied a preset, sometimes it takes a little finessing. Now you could also increase the warmth in this photo a little bit if you wanted to. You could decrease the shadows a little bit. I encourage you to play around with those settings after you've applied a preset if the photo didn't meet your expectations with just the preset. One thing I did want to mention is that these presets increase the sharpening. I always think a sharp photo looks really nice. But if your photo was shot in a little bit dark light, or maybe the photo doesn't have that high of resolution, when you increase the sharpening, it can make the photo feel a little bit pixelated. So if you apply the preset and you feel that the photo looks pixelated or it looks a little bit grainy, you're going to go to the Detail tab, and then you will click on the Sharpening tool and just bring that down, and that's going to soften the photo if you're experiencing that. I noticed as I was testing some photos that happened a few times, and I went back and forth on if I should take that sharpening out. Ultimately, I do think that the sharper photos look really nice. It just doesn't work very well if the photo doesn't have super high resolution or if the lighting wasn't all that great. One last thing I wanted to show you is how to adjust your skin tone in a photo. In almost all of the Boxwood presets, the luminance of colors is increased because I think it makes for just a really beautiful photo. But if you have a darker complexion, you may feel that this washes you out a little bit. So after you've applied a preset, if you like the way it looks other than the skin tone just is a little bit off, you can go into the Color tab. In the Color tab on the right-hand side, you'll see there's a color mix option. You'll select the color mix option, and then you'll select either yellow or orange. You will probably have to play around with both of these settings and start to either decrease the luminance, maybe increase the saturation a little bit, and you can adjust this so that your skin tone looks true to you. I hope that you found this video really helpful as you get started using these presets and using Lightroom Mobile. The Selective Edits tool and the Healing Brush are two key features that I hope that you'll get comfortable using in Lightroom. After you've applied a preset, always know that you can go and adjust the settings a little bit. And as you get more comfortable with Lightroom, you'll get your editing flow and you'll start to see cohesion in all of your photos.